Justin Baldoni's lawsuit is officially dead in the water. Now, it was already dismissed and thrown out this summer, but the New York Times wants their money back. They appealed to the judge to put his lawsuit in final judgment, which means they can start going after their attorney fees and make him and his team pay big money to cover all of their costs. Blake and Ryan Reynolds are also going after Justin and his team for their legal fees because he tried to sue them, but that has been put on hold for now. Blake Lively has been trying to get all of the emails, text messages, voice memos, etc. from Justin Baldoni and his team since February and has gotten nothing. It has now become extremely evident that they have burned, buried, hidden, destroyed, whatever, all of these communications, and she's not going to be getting them. She did receive some things through third-party people involved in this case, showing evidence that there were in fact things that she's not getting. So now what she's done is she is going after all of them for something called spoliation. I keep calling it spoliation, but basically she is asking the judge for a number of things to show that they destroyed evidence and now they need to pay for it. This is a really big deal and is not looking good for Justin Baldoni and his team. Basically, if the judge grants Blake Lively's motion for this because they destroyed evidence or did whatever and are not providing any of this, when it goes to court, they're not going to be able to argue this case. Blake will be able to present all of this information and Justin's team won't be able to argue it because they destroyed evidence. The other thing is they may have to pay for all of the filings and motions that Blake's team has had to file because of them not providing this evidence. They're going to have to pay her attorney fees for this as well. I'm going to go through some of the important points that I've highlighted in this that you need to know, starting with the introduction. Basically, Lively's team is saying it is now well known that defendants texted and emailed each other about their ability to execute an untraceable retaliatory campaign against Blake Lively that would leave no fingerprints. Most of those are words straight out of Wayfair's documentation. Now, they're saying Wayfair's team is insisting that the sudden onslaught of negative publicity against her beginning in August of 2024 was organic, coinciding perfectly with their plans by sheer luck. They're stating that the defendants have been hiding things and saying that they have failed to produce documents, that they have improperly cloaked them in attorney-client privilege, forcing no less than 12 discovery-related motions to date against the defendants and their aligned third parties. So Blake's team has had to file 12 motions to try and get these documents from the Wayfair side. They state two things are clear in this. Number one, despite defendants' clumsy efforts to cover their tracks, there is substantial evidence that the retaliatory campaign was in fact implemented as planned. And two, defendants flouted this court's orders and destroyed and or failed to preserve or produce additional material and highly relevant evidence, the absence of which they intend to try to unjustly exploit in their favor. One of the main things Blake's team talks about in this is that the defendants chose to use Signal as their main form of communication. Signal is this encrypted app that you can use that automatically deletes all of your messages, and they find it extremely odd that a workplace would choose to use Signal when there's a possibility of litigation because it is destroying and or failing to preserve all the relevant communication in real time. None of the defendants in this case ever produced any Signal communications that came before December 20th. And what's even more damning is the fact that the Wayfair defendant's lead attorney, Brian Friedman, was a participant in some of these Signal chats. Their own lawyer, who should have known better. He should have known that they needed to preserve all these communications for litigation. The second thing they bring up is the fact that the defendants produced no documentation and very little testimony about the work that they claim Jed Wallace did in this case. He's like the hired internet hitman that they had gotten, and he was paid $90,000 in 2024 for 3 months of work for Justin Baldoni and his team. And all they're saying is that he was hired to monitor the situation, but they said that there was absolutely no documentation. They said no one, including Mr. Wallace, has been able to explain what monitoring actually even involved that cost them $90,000. No reports, no text messages, no notes or email summaries reflecting anything that this alleged social media monitoring work did from August of 2024. And there's no evidence of what he did, and apparently nobody can even tell them. So now Blake's team is asking for severe sanctions. They say they're warranted to prevent the defendants from benefiting from their willful misconduct. Here's what they're asking for. Number one, an adverse inference that defendants intentionally deleted and failed to preserve relevant evidence when they had an obligation to do so, and that the destroyed evidence would have further shown defendants' execution of this digital campaign. Number 2, preclusion sanctions to prevent the defendants from arguing that they did not execute their digital campaign as they openly planned to do, or that the Wallace defendants did not actually engage in the digital campaign services that they were hired and paid to perform, given the destruction of documentary evidence that would otherwise show what the Wallace defendants actually did. Basically, that's saying they can't argue it in court and say they didn't do it because they destroyed all the evidence. Number 3, monetary sanctions, at least in the amount of Miss Lively's reasonable attorney fees and costs for bringing this motion. I'm not going to go into the rest of this, but basically they give all of the evidence. A lot of it's redacted as to what was being said during depositions with all of the main characters, Melissa Nathan, Jennifer Abel, Jamie Heath, etc. They have quoted a lot of things that were said during their depositions that prove that this stuff all went down and that they've destroyed the evidence somehow. The second filing for sanctions is going after Jamie Heath. Jamie Heath, during the filming of It Ends With Us, shows Blake Lively a video on his phone of a completely naked woman. It turns out it's a video of his wife giving birth. Initially, Blake thinks it's an inappropriate video. He says, no, it's my wife giving birth. Justin wants this to look like the birthing scene. She wants that video to use in court as evidence of what she experienced on set. His team has provided some video, but they did not provide the correct video. They provided 3 minutes of a video of the birth, and it is not the video of his wife being nude. So she has been fighting to get the actual footage, and they're saying we don't recall that, and now she's going after him for sanctions for this. The sanctions she's going after him for is 1, order Mr. Heath to produce all video footage depicting the birth video within 3 days of the court's order, and 2, precluding Mr. Heath from offering any evidence, including written or oral testimony, on the topic of his showing the birth video. So as punishment for him playing games and not giving over the video, she's saying in court to the jury, he's not allowed to provide any evidence, written or oral, in his testimony for this because of it. Third filing for sanctions is going after Melissa Nathan. Now, she is the head of the crisis management PR team that Justin Baldoni hired, and this is what Blake is saying. She says that the defendant, Melissa Nathan, had an order compelling the correction and production of certain materials, and she has not provided that. Nathan provided documentation, but it was incorrectly redacted, like blacked out the wrong way. So they asked her to redo it. She redid it again incorrectly. She has not given over some of the items. So this is what Blake's asking for. She says the court should enter an order directing Miss Nathan to produce unredacted copies of the challenged documents and to reimburse Miss Lively for all reasonable attorney fees and costs incurred by Miss Nathan's failure to comply with this order. Blake Lively isn't the only ones going after Justin Baldoni and his team for allegedly destroying evidence. We also have Stephanie Jones at JonesWorks now going after Justin Baldoni's PR rep, Jennifer Abel. So they're stating that they want imposed sanctions for spoliation against third-party plaintiff Jennifer Abel. This is what they're asking for. Number 1, an adverse inference that the signal messages that Abel destroyed would have been favorable to JonesWorks and unfavorable to Abel, and demonstrated that the defendants in the above captioned action, including Abel, conducted a retaliatory smear campaign without Stephanie Jones at JonesWorks' knowledge, involvement, or approval. Basically stating that Jennifer Abel and her team went after Blake Lively in a retaliatory campaign, and it had nothing to do with Stephanie Jones. They also want it noted that Jennifer Abel's participation in this campaign while a JonesWorks employee was for her own personal benefit, that it had nothing to do with the scope of her employment. This was not at Jones or JonesWorks' discretion, and the preclusion of Abel from arguing otherwise. She doesn't want Abel to be able to say anything different in court as punishment for destroying this evidence. She also wants monetary sanctions for the costs and prejudice caused by her spoliation and any other relief the court deems proper. Destroying evidence apparently does not pay. We are now waiting for the judge's ruling, and I will update you as soon as anything is posted, so make sure you hit follow.